How different are Indonesian and Malay?
Let's find out!
By Land Focus YouTube channel.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Lang Focus channel and my name is Paul. Today we're going to examine the differences between two sister languages, Indonesian, also known as Bahasa Indonesia, and Malay, also known as Bahasa Melayu.
Is that the Brunei?
Selamat datang di Indonesia.
Known as Bahasa.
Is that Brunei flag and then Singapore?
Please don't ask me.
Is it because
I feel stupid.
Is it because they speak a similar? I thought in Singapore they speak like Chinese and English. Maybe. Huh. I thought it was Brunei.
Oh.
We went to Borneo,
Yeah.
and I thought Brunei was nearby, and I thought it was their flag. I saw a few, maybe, I don't know. People will be mad in the comments.
Yeah, people are going to be mad at me for sure.
Melayu.
Selamat datang di Indonesia.
Welcome in
Selamat
Indonesia.
datang di Indonesia.
Selamat datang ke Malaysia.
Welcome to
Selamat
Malaysia.
datang ke... Oh.
As you can see, at first glance, the two languages seem essentially the
There's
same, and
Selamat.
their standard varieties are in large part mutually intelligible. But you can also see that they're not exactly the same. If you've seen my individual videos on Indonesian and Malay, then you know how this
Is
came
it Salaam
about.
Alaikum
But
also
to
like
briefly recap,
Arabic? Salamat alaikum or something? There's something in Arabic
before the
that is-
present-day countries of Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore existed, Malay was spoken throughout the area and had been a lingua franca
Borneo.
for centuries.
I just
But
said
in
it.
1928, the Indonesian nationalist movement that wanted to gain independence from the Dutch chose Malay as the national language of their future country and renamed it to Indonesian, or Bahasa Indonesia, while Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore retained the name Malay. While the standard form of Indonesian and the standard form of Malay are both based on the same Johor Diau Malay, they have incorporated different influences, and since 1928 they have moved in different directions to a certain extent. It seems to me that because it was renamed Bahasa Indonesia, the Indonesian variety was set apart from the standard Malay used in other countries and given a new identity, which allowed it to diverge more freely. Today, while standard Indonesian and standard Malay are still nearly identical in terms of grammar, there are significant differences in vocabulary. I've seen casual estimates that in terms of vocabulary they are 90%
wow.
the same
Wow.
and 10% different, and that seems reasonable to me. There are also some differences in pronunciation and spelling. Malay used to only be written in a modified Arabic
See?
script called Jawi,
Oh,
but it began to be written with Roman characters during the colonial period. Originally, the system of Romanizing Malay in Malaysia, Brunei, and Singapore was influenced by English, since they were formerly under British control, while in Indonesia it was influenced by Dutch, since Indonesia was formerly under Dutch control.
Yes,
For
we know
example, the word for grandchild
Cucu.
was spelled like
Cucu.
this in Malaysia
Choo-choo.
and like this in Indonesia. But in 1972, there was a spelling reform that eliminated most differences like that.
wait, choo-choo, it's also a Thai word, right?
Choo-choo? It's more like choo-choo.
Oh.
No, but I'm laughing it because in the slang word, right? When you call little, what? How do I say, like a penis?
A cock? You say, can't you choo-choo in Thai?
But we say only one word, like choo, like one word, like that. No.
Okay, don't say that in Thailand then.
But different influences of English on Malay and Dutch on Indonesian remain, mainly in the presence of loanwords. Sometimes a Dutch loanword is used in Indonesian when an older Malay word is used in Malay. For example, the word for office.
Office?
In Indonesian, it's...
Kantor.
In Malay,
Kantor.
it's...
Oh my god.
Pejabat.
In
Pejabat.
Indonesian, pejabat means an official rather than an office. The word for room in Indonesian,
Kamar.
Kamar.
in Malay, it's...
Kamar.
Kamar.
Kamar. They have a strong R.
Bilik.
Bilik.
Bilik is still used in Indonesian, but means a small room, like a booth or compartment.
Oh.
Related to that is the word for toilet or restroom. In Indonesian, the most common word is probably
Kamar kecil.
which
Kamar
literally means
kecil,
small
kecil.
room.
Kamar
In Malay,
kecil.
the most common words are,
Tandas.
Tandas.
Bilik air.
Tandas.
which
Bilik.
is sort of a
Air.
loan translation of
Ay.
water closet or WC. Sometimes an English
Indonesian
loan-
R are much more
Yes.
pronounced, right? Like
Yeah.
in-
Crazy.
intense. Well, a little bit like Dutch. Dutch German. They have strong,
The word
like
is
more
used in
stronger
Malay,
letter.
while an older Malay word is used in Indonesian. The word for hospital. In Indonesian, it's
Rumah sakit.
Rumah
literally
sakit.
means sick house. And while both of the words are Malay, this phrase is a loan translation of Dutch
Ziekenhuis.
ziekenhuis. In Malay, they simply say
Hospital.
Rumah
Oh.
sakit used to be used in Malay, but is hardly used anymore, except maybe in some regional dialects. Oftentimes, a Dutch loanword is used in Indonesian, while an English loanword is used in Malay. These words are often cognates, but have different spelling and pronunciation. For example, the word for television. In Indonesian, it's
Televisi.
while in
Televisi.
Malay, it's
Television.
the word for
Television.
police. In Indonesian, it's
Polisi.
Policy.
while in Malay, it's
Police.
in Indonesian,
These both are very similar to how they say in Europe. A lot of European countries, they say police, policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this.
Polis.
means policy, as in an insurance policy.
Ah.
The word for university.
Universitas.
University.
But
Spanish.
sometimes they're not
They say it like
Yeah.
Spanish or
For bag.
Portuguese.
In Indonesian,
Tas.
Tas.
which comes from Dutch. And in Malay,
Bag.
Bag.
the word for
Damn.
petrol or gasoline.
Bensin.
Benzene.
The word for pharmacy, meaning the place where medicines are sold.
Apotek.
Apotek.
Pharmacy.
In
Pharma.
Indonesian, the word
Farmasi.
is used to refer to the pharmaceutical profession and industry, but not to shops. There were some different colonial influences as well. For example, the word for towel. In Indonesian,
Handuk.
from
Handuk.
Dutch, handuk. In Malay, it's
Tuala.
which comes
Toala.
from the Portuguese word.
Toa.
Yes.
There are numerous words from Portuguese in both
See,
Malay
that's what
and
I just
Indonesian,
said.
because Malacca, in present-day Malaysia, was a Portuguese colony for over
okay,
100
okay.
years.
Yeah.
Another example is the word
Sepatu.
meaning
Sepatu.
shoe, which comes from Portuguese.
Sapato.
Sapatu is the usual word for shoe
Sapatu.
in Indonesian, but in Malay it's not used much anymore. And the word
Kasut.
Kasut.
is used instead, especially by young people. Putting aside colonial vocabulary in particular and looking at vocabulary in general, it's fair to say that the words that are different in Indonesian and Malay are often very basic and common words. The word for tree,
Pohon.
Bon.
Pokok.
the word for car.
Mobil.
This is another word from Dutch and is short for automobil.
Yes.
In Malay, it's
Kereta.
Yeah,
in
terata.
Indonesian
Kereta.
means train and
Oh.
is short for,
Kereta api.
and that's the same as the Malay word for train.
Kereta.
They love the letter K in these two languages. It's everywhere.
Kereta
Api.
api.
Kereta api literally means fire wagon, with wagon being the original sense of kereta before it meant car.
Kereta.
Notice the Malay.
That's why, by the way, sometime when you guys give us suggestion and I click on it, I never know if it's Malaysian or Indonesian. Because when I read it, it could be both.
Sometimes when the singer sing, right, we try to find a translation. It always keep Indonesian.
Yeah,
thing like
sometimes
that.
YouTube, when we react to a song that is in Malaysian, the translator on YouTube will tell us that it's Indonesian.
Yeah.
Because he confused both language
Yeah.
sometimes. So,
I am the fan.
pronunciation of kereta.
Kereta.
Final a is usually pronounced as a schwa in Malay,
Kereta.
at least in Malaysia. A couple more examples. Saya, meaning I, is pronounced,
Saya.
and pertama, meaning first, is pronounced
Pertama.
city.
Kota.
Kota.
In Malay, the word kota is
Banda.
also used with the meaning of city, but it's used more like that in writing.
Kota.
And the word's often used with
Kota
the sense of a
Kinabalu.
fort.
Yeah,
In
Kota
Indonesian,
Kinabalu.
bandar is usually
We almost went there, right? We were in, not Sarawak. Where were we?
Kuching.
Kuching, yeah.
Yeah.
We were in Kuching.
port or a water channel rather than a city. Notice that the final R is silent in many
silent.
Malay accents, including the mainstream Johor, Riau, Selangor Malay. This is also
Banda.
the case in some Indonesian accents, but more so among Malay accents. Bicycle,
Sepeda.
Sepeda.
from velociped, the popular name of early bicycle
Again, this is a Sepeda sound like Portuguese, like those language.
like vehicles during the
Sepada.
colonial period. In Malay, it's
Basikal.
Bicycle
and
for
related to those
bicycle.
words are the word for motorcycle.
Sepeda motor.
Sepeda moto,
Motosikal.
motosikal.
Some terms of address and family vocabulary are different. In Indonesian,
Bapak.
Pak.
or
Pak.
Pak.
are used to respectfully address a man, like sir. In Malay, it's
Tuan.
Tuan.
tuan is also used in Indonesian, but it's very formal.
Tuan.
Similarly, in Indonesian,
Ibu.
or
Ibu.
Bu.
are used to mean ma'am. In Malay, the word is
Puan.
this
Puan.
word does exist in
Puan.
Indonesian, but is a
Puan and
formal
puan?
literary
Huh?
word
No,
and
no.
is not commonly used. Bapak literally means father, and ibu literally means mother. And with those meanings, they are used in Malay. In Indonesian, grandfather is,
kakek,
while in Malay, it's usually,
Datuk.
That
in
too.
Malay,
Datuk.
Kakak.
means older sister,
Kakak.
but in Indonesian,
kakak,
means older sibling. Older brother is,
Oh,
Kakak
okay,
laki-laki.
can be both.
Yeah, and
But
in
in
English
Malaysia,
it means
just one.
poop.
Oh!
Except it's not written like this.
and
Kakak.
older sister is.
kakak perempuan,
Kakak
Not only
perempuan.
nouns, but some verbs are different. The verb meaning can or be able to. In Indonesian, it's.
Bisa.
bisa,
In Malay, it's.
Boleh.
Boleh is used in Indonesian with the meaning of may, as in you have permission
They
to
love
do
B
something.
too. B and
But
K.
in Malay, boleh is used with both
Boleh.
meanings. Bisa comes from Javanese, the most widely spoken native language in Indonesia. A significant number of Javanese words have entered Indonesian, but not Malay. I should note that there's a different word, bisa, in both Malay and Indonesian that means
Oh.
poison or venom. The
Okay.
verb meaning to return.
kembali,
Kembali.
Kembali is also used, but more in writing. In many cases, both words exist as synonyms in either language, but there's a difference in frequency of word choice. Take a look at this sentence here. This means I want to eat something.
Eat something.
In Indonesian, it's.
saya mau makan sesuatu,
In Malay, it's.
Saya mau makan sesuatu.
Saya mau makan sesuatu.
Oh, and saya nak makan sesuatu.
Saya nak makan sesuatu.
Oh.
It's only one word different.
Yeah.
Saya nak makan sesuatu.
The verb meaning to want is different. In Indonesian, mau is probably the most common
Mau.
word. In Malay,
Hendak.
is more common. And in casual speech, it's often abbreviated to.
What?
Nah.
What?
Nothing.
What?
It's just funny. Hendak? Hendak.
Why it's funny?
Hen is in Thai is like you can see something. Dak, whatever. It's like slang word. It mean your butt.
So the person can see your ass? That's what it means in Thai? Can see your ass? Okay.
Hendak is also used in Indonesian, but less often. And mau is also used in Malay, but less frequently. Another sentence. This means I always wake up, after 9 o'clock. In Indonesian,
saya selalu bangun setelah jam 9,
Saya selalu bangun setelah jam 9.
You seem good.
Not bad.
Malay,
Saya sentiasa bangun selepas jam 9.
I mean, they can understand each other, right?
Yes.
There,
For sure.
There's enough words that are similar.
word for word, both sentences are I always wake up after hour 9. In Malay,
Sentiasa.
is often used for always, though selalu is also common in casual
See?
speech. In Indonesian,
selalu,
is the most common word. Sentiasa is rare,
selalu,
is the most common
Selalu.
word. Sentiasa is rare, but its longer form,
Selalu.
senantiasa, is used in more formal
Senantiasa.
situations. And the most common word for after in this context in Indonesian is,
setelah,
and in
Setelah.
Malay,
Selepas.
Selepas.
some words here and there are spelled a little differently. One of the words meaning to want in Indonesian is mau, as we said
Mau.
before. In Malay, it's mahu.
Mahu.
The word for
Mahu.
different in Indonesian is,
beda,
Beda.
while in Malay, it's
Beza.
The words are
word
so
for try
small, huh?
in Indonesian.
The words are short.
Yeah.
I think it's very like easier maybe to learn because they don't have like accent on. I have not seen an accent so far on the letter. Like an accent like accent.
Yeah, to make
Dot.
confusing.
Yeah. So the pronunciation is not that difficult, I think. Right?
is,
coba,
while in Malay, it's
Cuba.
the word for healthy is
Juba.
sehat,
Sehat.
in Indonesian, while it's
Sihat.
in Malay.
Sehat.
So far, I've mainly been focusing on Standard Indonesian and Standard Malay, which are in large part the same, except for some differences.
Oh yeah, but now if we go into all the tribe and dialect, especially in Indonesia, because it's really spread. Even in Malaysia, it's spread. It's gonna be super
vocabulary
different.
and vocabulary usage. But in casual speech, the differences can be much greater. There are numerous regional and local dialects of Malay, and even though Indonesian is learned as a second language by most Indonesians, it has developed various local varieties influenced by regional languages of Indonesia. Me and her went to the shop to buy some food, then we ate together. First, let's compare the standard sentences. In Standard Indonesian,
aku dan dia pergi ke toko untuk membeli makanan, kemudian kami makan bersama.
Aku dan dia pergi ke toko untuk membeli makanan, kemudian kami makan bersama.
Why you good?
I don't think I'm good.
And now in standard Malay.
Aku dan dia pergi ke kedai untuk membeli makanan. Kemudian kami makan bersama.
Because you can read.
Can you do it?
Aku dan dia pergi ke kedai. Kedai untuk membeli makanan. Kemudian kami makan bersama.
People in the comment are going to say, you're Thai. How come you're not?
Hey,
But to be
it's
honest,
different. To
I
be
th-
honest, we not even use this.
No, but I was going to say, I think for me, because of the letter, I think it's easier than for you.
Of
Just because of the
course.
alphabet.
Yeah, it's so different from
Look at how many K there are. They have K and D and G and...
Word for word, both sentences are I and she
Very
go to store
similar.
for buy food, then we eat together.
There's
So
one
you can see
word
that these sentences
difference.
are almost identical. There's just one
toko
main
and kedai.
difference. The most common words for store or shop are different in Malay and Indonesian. In Indonesian, it's toko, while in Malay, it's kedai. In Indonesian, kedai
Kedai.
is sometimes
Oh,
used,
kedai.
but for a small, simple
What do you know about kedai?
I thought it kedai. It kedai.
shop, like a food stand or kiosk. In Malay, kedai is used more generally for most shops. But let's take a look at how this might be said in casual speech. First, in the casual Indonesian of Jakarta.
Gue
Oh.
sama dia jalan ke toko buat beli makanan. Terus kita makan bareng.
The first word,
Oh, gue sama dia jalan ke toko buat beli makanan tu kita makan bareng.
gue, is a
It
pronoun
doesn't look like the same sentence now. It's so different.
originally from Hokkien Chinese that entered casual Jakartan speech through Batawi,
Oh, good.
which is spoken by the original Batawi inhabitants of Jakarta. The next word, ama, is a shortened version of sama, which means same or together. But here it means and. Jalan means walk rather than go. This
Jalan.
is simply a matter of word choice. The word buat is used instead of untuk, which means for, or for the purpose of. In standard Indonesian and Malay, buat means do or make. But in the casual speech of Jakarta, it also means for, or for the purpose of. Next, the verb beli, meaning to buy, is used in
Beli.
its root form with no
Beli?
affixes.
What beli?
Next, the word terus is used to mean then. This is a standard word, but is used more in colloquial speech, while in more standard speech, kemudian might be used. Next, we see the pronoun kita. In
No,
the
I'm
standard
confused.
sentence, the pronoun kami
Why?
is used, which means we, excluding the listener. There is also the pronoun kita, which means we, including the listener. In
Kita
casual
kinabalu.
Jakarta speech, the distinction between kami and kita is usually ignored and kita is used, unless there's a reason to emphasize that the listener is excluded, in which case kami can be used. Bareng means with or together with, and this
Barang.
word comes from Javanese. Now let's look at a similar sentence, but in the dialect of Johor Riau Selangor, where Kuala Lumpur is located.
Aku dengan dia pergi kedai nak beli makanan sikit. Lepas tu kita orang makan sama-sama.
So,
Ngan is a short form of dengan, which means with.
It's
but
very
here it means
different.
and.
But at the same time, there's
Dia
some
would be
similarity.
dia in standard speech. Gi is a short form of the verb pergi, which means go. Next we see nak, which means want, but here it's used
Yeah.
to mean with the intention of. Next, again we see beli with no affixes. And here, skit is a shortened form of sedikit, which means a little. But here it doesn't really mean a little in terms of amount.
Sedikit.
It's just used to have a softening effect on the sentence. Pastu means then and is a shortened form of selepasitu,
Pastu.
meaning after that. Kitorang comes from kita plus
Kitorang.
orang. In the casual Malay of Kuala Lumpur and its surrounding regions, kitorang is the casual pronoun meaning
Kitorang.
kami, which means we, excluding the listener. Sama-sama equals sama-sama
Sama-sama.
or sama, but without the prefix ber. Again, notice the final schwa vowel on dia and sama-sama.
Dia and sama
One
sama.
more sentence. I invited him to play football,
football
with,
with
us.
us.
First, the standard sentences. In standard Indonesian,
Saya mengundangnya untuk bermain sepak bola dengan kami.
and
Oh,
in standard Malay.
Saya menjemputnya untuk bermain bola sepak dengan kami.
Word for
Huh.
word, it's I invite him for play
Play.
football with us. In their standard forms,
It's just
these
football that
sentences
is
are quite
different.
similar, but we can see
Oh,
a couple
no.
of different
they just put the word in the other order. That's the same thing.
differences. In Indonesian, a common verb meaning invite is mengundang. While in
Megundang.
Malay, it's menjemput. In
Menjemput.
Indonesian, menjemput means to pick up,
Menjemput.
like to pick someone up at the airport. Second is the term for football. In Indonesian, it's sepak bola, which
Sepak
literally
bola.
means kick ball. And in Malay, it's bola sepak, which
Bola
literally
sepak.
means ball kick. Now let's check out the casual forms of this sentence.
Gue ngundang dia buat main bola sama kita.
Notice here that the word
Again,
mengundang
gue,
is shortened
ngundang.
to ngundang. In casual speech, the suffix meng is often shortened to ng. Here again we see buat in place of the
Buat.
standard word untuk, meaning for or to. Notice that the verb main appears in its root form without the prefix
They shorten the sentence. Look at
that
the
it has in
word.
standard speech. Next, sepak bola is simply bola. Ama comes from sama, as we saw before, and again, kita, rather than kami.
Aku ajak dia nak main bola dengan kita orang.
See, they,
Notice there's a different verb, ajak, meaning to invite,
Ajak.
which is also used in Indonesian. Menjemput is more formal than ajak.
They shorten
Ajak
the
is used in
sentence.
its root form. Note that nak seems to be used in place of untuk, just like buat in Indonesian. And just like in casual Indonesian, we see main in its root form with no
Main.
prefix. Again, we see ngan, the shortened form of dengan, and again we see kitorang instead of the standard word kami.
kitorang.
As you can see, Malay and Indonesian are very similar languages, especially in their standard forms, which are used in formal and polite.
Yes.
Look at their capital. The variety.
Interesting. Well, I didn't know that it was that similar. Now it makes sense that when I read the video title, I never know if it's Indonesian or Malaysian. I need to Google the name of the band. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, that crazy. Like that mean you guys can understand each other really well.
I think they can understand each other. Tell us if you can understand when people speak like Malay, Indonesian, Malay.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Portuguese Spanish or French Spanish, because French is my first language. I cannot really understand when Spanish, even though there's words are similar. But you guys, it feel like it's like a Hindi and Urdu from Pakistan. I feel like it's like 80-90% so similar.
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. If there's more suggestion from Malay and Indonesia, let's know the comment below. Yes, I will put, I don't know, a video here. Click on it. Okay.